Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. So, Ali gets exposed. And, at first, Trip is having a hard time accepting it. He starts pushing Johnny, like, what are you talking about? What kind of games are you sitting there playing? This, that, and the third. But after a while, he turns around and he looks at Ali like, is this true? Now Chanel does most of the talking. She's all like, "No, nothing happened. She just came over there and comforted me, and that's it, and yada yada yada." At this point, I think Johnny leaves, and Trip is like, he looks at Allie because Allie didn't say anything. She's just standing there, and Trip is like, "Yo, listen, I need to sit there and talk to her about, I need to talk to her alone." So she walks off, and it's one of those things where it's like, Chanel, there was no way in hell that he was going to believe anything of what you said. I get that you were just trying in the moment to protect your friend and her relationship, but I mean, let's be honest, you aren't really trying to protect their relationship because you wouldn't have did what you did in the first place if that was the case. So she leaves. If you've been watching my reviews for a while, you all know how I feel about Allie. I'm not going to be a dick. As much as I don't like this woman, I'm not going to be a dick about it. But at the same time, she did this to herself. What these tears and everything like that that's coming out, and the waterworks and the apologies, and I didn't mean it to happen, and we're just caught in the moment, this, that, and the third. All the excuses in the world are just nothing at that point. You know? Like it's just nothing. I mean, yeah, she apologizes, but she apologizes after the fact, which doesn't amount up to anything. And I get it, that's not your reaction, but Trip is like, yo, we're done. He looks at her like, yo, you don't think that we're still getting married, right? And she's with this whole, we can work it out if you just believe me, this, that, and the third. Yeah, he's not trying to hear that. He is not trying to hear that. And, he's angry, he's hurt, he's a mixture of both. And he looks at you, he's like, I want the ring back. The sad part, even before he took the ring back, he was like, if Johnny didn't tell me tonight, would you have told me? Would I have known? She just stands there, speechless, because she knew the answer to that. And it really takes me back to the whole Nicole and Eric thing. If Sammy didn't sit there and expose Nicole, Nicole would have just went on with life as though nothing ever happened. With Eric, just you know, being none being wiser, wiser. Um, And that's how Allie really felt like this whole thing was going to go. If she just didn't say anything, then they were just going to go off into the sunset and him just none being the wiser. I'm not going to lie, I don't exactly like that expression, but you know what I'm saying. Um, and so, yeah, he was like, I want the ring back. And, she's like, she's sorry. When she said that and I said this in my GH review. When someone says that they didn't want to hurt you, it's something that just irks me because it's not about hurting them, it's about them being hurt. So when she said that, it irked me because you weren't so much worried about him being hurt. You were worried about you being hurt when he found out and he kicked you to the curb. He was like, he wants the ring back. And she gives it back and she says she's sorry. which doesn't really mount up to anything. And he pretty much walks away, and she sits on the bench and she's crying. Like I said, I don't like this girl. I refuse to call her a woman. I don't like this girl. But you know, yesterday after I finished watching it, and I knew that that they were gonna probably go back to the scene. I was like, man, I'm gonna really just relish in it, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it as much as I don't like her. I couldn't do it. But I don't feel bad for her either. So Paulina gets some flowers, and it's from Ray. She comes over there and she takes the glass and the vase or whatever, and she drops it. It's like, I don't want nothing to do with you. And Ray starts apologizing. He talks about how it was, the stuff that he was on, and you know, it's he. I don't know if he said it wasn't an excuse or anything like that, but he was like, he's a changed person, this, that, and third. I mean, I'm not. I guess I do hold grudges, but my point is, I feel like there's certain things in this world that's just unforgivable. And yeah, he was on that stuff, and I've never been on that stuff before, so I don't know what it's like. Um, I mean, I have been drunk, and I know that does kind of influence your decisions. But my point is, it's like regardless if you're on it or not, you did something that was low, really low. Um, and I just don't know if you can get past that. I don't know if that's something that you should be able to just get past. And yeah, you can sit there and be like, yeah, I've heard the expression, when you forgive somebody, you're not really forgiving them. You're more just letting go of that anger. And if that was the case, fine. Some people are able to do that. I'm just not there on those type of things. But he doesn't just want to apologize to her. He wants to apologize with her and have her give him a second chance. And I'm like, I don't see how she can get past that. I really don't. Regardless if he was on something or not. I just don't see that. Like there's just a certain violation. Like once you cross that line, you can't go back. And there's a point where Paulina sits there and thinks about the fact that when she tried to give Lonnie flowers to just because Pauline was not getting on him like, oh, you think because you give me flowers and stuff like that, that's gonna sit there and make up for it. And then she thought about the time that she tried to give flowers to Lonnie, and she was like, oh, yeah. It was a certain point where Ray was like, oh, and what about Price Town? What about what you did with Price Town? I was like, bro, listen, there's no way on this earth you can ever compare to what Paulina did compared to what you did as far as putting hands on her. It was like, yeah, I know. Well, why the hell did you bring it up for? But he does sit there and say he wants to get a chance to know his daughter, this, that, and the third. And she walks out and she just has this look of conflict on her face. There's a part of her that wants to sit there and forgive him and give him another chance. Like, Abe, I know you don't want to be with her. No, screw it. Maybe, I mean, it's soap opera, so that's not going to work. But I was like, if this is real life, there's like 8 billion men on this planet. I'm pretty sure you can sit there and throw a rock and hit one that's better than Ray. I'm pretty sure of that. Now, Eli and Lonnie are talking about Ray because Eli was like, yeah, I lied to you. I went to go and see him, to put him on notice. And, Lonnie's like, oh, well, I didn't need you to sit there and go all caveman or anything. He didn't go caveman. He didn't go over there and start punching him and beating him and using his badge and, abusing his badge or whatever, as far as his power and stuff like that. He didn't do any of that. He just went over there. He put him on notice. And that's something that any man that loves his wife, his girlfriend, would do without question. So when she was all like, "Oh, I didn't need you to sit there and go all caveman," I was like, "Sweetheart, do you know the definition of caveman? You know the definition of what you're saying? Because you just sound incredibly stupid." Uh, and part of that comment is a little sexist. If we're going to be honest. Yes, sexism goes both ways. Same thing with racism. But Lonnie wants to sit there and know, what was your impression on them? Like, what you think of them? What's your instance in that they're telling you? And I'm like, Lonnie, regardless of whatever you get answer from him, whatever answer you're gonna get from him, you still gotta sit there and get it one from yourself. So why are you asking him what's their impression? Like, I don't like. Does he seem like he's a changed man? I was like, cause is that something you could really sit there and say that you can change? Like, and just kind of like that's just kind of a stain on someone's soul. Like that's just it. And you can be a better person and this, that, and the third, but that is just not going away. Anyway, they have their little Valentine's Day fun. They go back downstairs because Lonnie's like, I put too much work into doing this cake, so we're gonna eat this cake. And Chanel comes in there. Chanel's like, I want to talk to somebody, I need to talk to somebody, and she tells them everything. With Allie, Trip, Johnny, and everything like that. And they don't really lay in on her. They don't really lay in on her. They don't really sit there and say, yeah, what you did was kind of bad or whatever. I guess they were looking at her face, seeing that she was crying and upset, and was like, yeah, we're not going to sit there and kicking you down. But the next morning, y'all might want to sit there and kind of check your girl and be like, yo, listen, you kind of played a part in this too. Of course, she went in on Johnny talking about, I'm going to take you for everything that you own, this, that, and the third. And, Johnny Apple was like, yo, listen, you pretty much slept with my twin while we were still married. Good luck in court, you know? Um, and of course, that's when she ran to tell Eli and Lonnie everything that happened. Now, the last scene is Craig. It's Craig. I kept saying Greg. Craig, Leo, Brady, and Chloe. So they all meet up, and Brady is like, yo, Leo did this, did that, did the third. He was a liar. He scammed people. He cheated people. He hurt a lot of people. He just going through the list. And while Leo is sitting there being like, well, this happened, but then that happened, he's trying to explain away these little things. He starts to talk about his past and, him growing up and stuff like that and just kind of being put, well, to sit there and say he had a rough childhood is putting it mildly. His dad physically and mentally abuses, well, this man for a very long time. And I look at that situation, and he said because of that stuff that he went through when he was a child, it kind of made him do the stuff that he did when he got older. And on one hand, yeah, obviously, if you're a good person, you feel for the guy. You do. I felt for him. As far as his childhood growing up, no one should ever have to feel like that. Ever. At any point in their life, especially growing up by their own parent. With that being said, a lot of stuff happens to a lot of people when they're younger or older. That doesn't give you carte blanche to sit there and be like, well, because this happened to me, it gives me right to do X, Y, and Z. And in a lot of ways, I kind of felt like he used that as some sort of I don't want to sit there and say crutch, but more as an excuse, like, well, I was only doing that because of my bad childhood. I'm like, well, there's a lot of people that have bad childhoods, and not all of them grow up to do the stuff that you did. So I guess in some way it kind of pissed me off a little bit. It's like he didn't really seem like he took responsibility for it. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry, but this happened and that happened. Like, and it's this thing called therapy and talking to people and resources and stuff like that. This isn't, this isn't one of those things where it's like, I mean, I don't know how old Leo is, but I feel like he grew up in a time era where it's like you have a lot more resources to talk to people now than you did back in, like, let's say the 80s or the 70s or whatever, Um has changed. I mean, granted, there's still probably problems in this world, but my point is there was resources to get you through those times, and you chose, well, I don't know if I want to sit there and say the easy way out, but you chose a path that was easier than dealing with things, you know, for your mental health. I'll sit there and say that. So they're arguing back and forth, and Chloe's like, "Oh, you gotta sit there and believe him. You gotta sit there and end this farce of a marriage, and I mean this farce of a relationship. He's a bad guy. He does bad things. This, that, and the third." And I'm like, Chloe, I get what you're saying to some extent, but now your anger is coming more towards you trying to defend your mother by saying, well, you know, you hurt mom and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, Chloe, I'm sorry, how old are you? Like, I get that she wants to protect her mom, and that's great. That is a loving and beautiful thing. But you're also sitting there talking to your dad that has been struggling with this for a very long time, and you practically just went off on him like some 16-year-old little girl that's throwing a temper tantrum. And of course Brady was like, well, you guys sit there and listen, he's a bad person, he's doing bad things. I'm only telling you this because I care about you. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But if you say you want to kind of end it for tonight and kind of pick it up later on, that doesn't mean kind of just, keep yelling and keep talking, keep trying to drive your point home when he's kind of like, all right, can we pick that up tomorrow? No, you're just gonna keep talking over and over and over again. Da 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 da. Da. After a while, it's like you just tend to shut down, and whatever they're saying that's important just goes in one ear and out the other. And then when John Diablo got back, he's sitting there just happy that he caused some ruckus or whatever. With everyone that he encountered. Trip Alley and I actually tell you the truth, it was a lot more people. The point is he's happy that he caused a lot of damage and destruction and, hurt and heartache and stuff. Um but Johnny decided he wants to start fighting back, and I guess he starts doing something that Diablo doesn't like, and Diablo's like, yo, listen, I will literally go upstairs and end your family. And so Johnny stopped, and yeah, and he just kind of just calmed it down or whatever. He was like, I don't exactly remember what he said at that point, but it seems like Johnny's there trying to fight back, and between that and Ben and Sierra thinking that, Diablo's back in town, I guess we're going to come to a resolution at some point in time. Anyway, I feel like that's about it. So, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.